You can get an idea of how it performed across my dives where the water is pretty murky, and it did pretty well at just cutting through that murk like butter. I could count on this thing to communicate to my team and others. It does have a very nice focus beam that really is a nice power for cutting through that darkness and murk. Today, we're going to look at the XTAR D26 and find out how it performs underwater and whether it's for you. But first, a disclaimer. This model was given to me for free by XTAR to review for the channel. It's not a sponsorship. They're not paying me, and I am under zero obligation to say anything good about it. One thing I always strive for on my channel is to make sure that I have the freedom and the privilege to discuss what I like and what I dislike and tell you how it is, how it performed on my dives. So I put about 6 to 7 dives on this thing. And throughout the video, you'll see a bunch of clips I took with varying conditions, and I'll tell you about my experience as we go. Once I received it, I got it in a nice little box. It comes with a nice case and a lanyard. This clip is mine, but the lanyard comes with it. So jumping right in, it does have a interesting button. So it is kind of pocket safe. They made it pocket safe by making this button. It's rare to find dive lights that have a button and are still pocket safe. So it's kind of an interesting design, and they do it through this twist top. So if you turn it all the way left, it will not depress, and so it's kind of a locking mechanism. But if you turn it to the right, then bam, there it is. And so you'll very immediately notice that this is actually a hybrid light. So it does have kind of a nice aura around a very narrow, tight beam. And see, if you turn it off, so you push and hold to turn it off, and then push it once to turn it on. And so it does always turn on to the brightest setting when you turn it on. I'm not sure I like that. I usually like to start them off at low and bump them up to what I need, but the control on this actually works fairly well for me. Because it is a narrow light, it is for communication and trying to pierce depths over a long distance. And so here we have our battery indicator, which in general, green is good. Red means you're getting a little low, and this flashing red, probably time to get out your backup light. At least have it prepared. The chassis is a aluminum design. It has no real strong grippies here, so if it does kind of slide in the hand, which is maybe it's a neutral thing to me, it does have this rubber thing at the front. If you have gloves or don't have gloves, you can always grab this, and it has a nice grip there. But you don't really need to grip it for any reason because the head doesn't turn or anything there. It's just a button, and this button is on, and it never turns off until you push and hold it. So you can cycle through all 3 modes, and it works. It never turns off between modes, and it will only turn off when you kind of hard press it. It does also have like an SOS mode if that's important to you, and I think that is if you push and hold it until it activates, it starts communicating SOS. And then pushing and holding again turns it off. Fairly straightforward controls. But let's talk about the lumens. At the highest, we have 2,800 lumens. And at the midpoint, we have 1,400. And at low, we have 550 lumens. According to the specifications, it runs about 1.5 hours at the brightest, 2 hours on mid, and 4.5 on low. So at 4.5, that's probably where you want to spend most of your time if you want this dive torch to kind of last through all your dives if you're planning on using it on every dive, especially for those liveaboard days where you might be doing 4 dives a day. The impact resistance on this is a little bit more than other dive lights, which is kind of nice. It's about 1.5 meters, which is about 4.5 feet of impact. Normally, most dive lights is 1 meter or 3 feet of impact. So it can take a little bit harder blow and still keep going. You can also dive with it down to 100 meters or 330 feet. Plenty for recreational diving. And it's not super light. I won't call this light. It's not heavy either. It comes in at 272 grams or about 9.6 ounces. The light is pretty white, so definitely don't count on it for any videoing purposes. It's more for communication. But all in all, you can kind of get an idea of how it performed across my dives here in Seattle where the water is pretty murky, especially this time of year. And it did pretty well at just cutting through that murk like butter. I could count on this thing to communicate to my team and others on a moment's notice and get their attention. It does have a very nice focus beam that really is a nice power for cutting through that darkness and murk. And while on my dives, I did take my Big Blue 5200 lumens, which is not apples to apples in comparison. They are different lights. But it is worth noting that this beam is a hybrid. It has a small focus 7-degree beam and a 62-degree aura around it. So it has focus, but it does have a nice aura. And similar with this light. And you'll see these back to back while I'm diving, and also I'm gonna shoot them against my wall here so you get some nice comparisons to see how they look. I'm gonna put this one on the right side and this one on the left side. And again, it's not to say which one's superior or which one you should buy. It's just showing you I use this light on every single dive light review. It's just a staple light that you can kind of see consistently if you watch my gear reviews to get an idea of how this performs in comparison. But some other things to look at is where to mount the thing. It has this very hard ring at the bottom, which is perfect. This won't break on you. Seems very stable, and you can depend on that for a wrist mount mainly. It also does have the right mount for a hard Goodman handle or even your camera rig. It can put on a ballpoint. It can be screwed on to most camera rigs, and it can be used that way, although it's not a best camera light with that focus beam. Definitely not good for camera work, more for communication. But maybe that's just where you like to store all your lights. You just want to hold onto your camera and have all your lights on it. If that's your preference, this can do it for you. And now let's take a look at that inside compartment. And so it does have a nice screw. There's what the inside is, and you can see the negative side is the side that's top. It has two O-rings at the top there, and we take this thing out and see it's a pretty standard 5,000 milliamp hours. It's very well labeled. No surprises. You can charge it with USB-C, which is quite nice. So you don't need any proprietary chargers. Maybe just need a crap ton of USB-C chargers for all your dive lights that now take USB chargers. Another thing worth noting that just kind of where it sits on the hand and everything is very decently balanced. Sometimes these things can have a very heavy head and it just really kind of drags down and wears on your hand after using it for a while. But this one, it does have a nice balance. It does put a lot of weight into the back and less on the head, so it doesn't really feel uncomfortable to wear or use throughout the dive. So who is the XTAR D26 for? Specifically the D26 2800. At the time of this review, the price point for this is $120, but I do see it's on sale for $75 at the time of this video. So with that in mind, and seeing that the LED in there is fairly straightforward, very simple, very powerful, this dive light is trying to be a main dive light for you to mainly do night dives, even murky water, and kind of be a staple for your main dive light. So if you like to have a simple control mechanism, it doesn't get any simpler than this. And I do like that it doesn't turn off, because I have worked with different lights that when you're switching modes, it turns off. And this one just cycles through. It has very nice feel on when you're clicking. You have a nice feel to know that you've switched modes. You shouldn't accidentally turn it on and off, because it does have some pressure. So you know when you're using this thing. And if you just kind of hit it, it doesn't just automatically turn on. So it does have some level of intelligence with the control mechanism. I do want to mention, if you're buying this and you're not a diver, be very careful, because this thing is meant to be liquid cooled. Don't grab it from the head. That thing can burn. It's designed to work in water, which will keep it at a nice temperature, so you don't have to worry about the burning in water. So if you do like the XTAR, definitely check out. I have a link to buy it in the description below. If you use that link, it's entirely optional, but I will get a small portion, and that helps support the channel, and I really appreciate it. But let me know, what did you think of the XTAR D26? Are you thinking of buying it? What are some facets that you were looking for in a dive light? Let me know in the comments below. If you're looking for some other dive gear reviews, I have some other lights and other pieces of gear that I've reviewed in this series up here. Check that out next. You might find your perfect light if this one isn't for you. And otherwise, YouTube thinks you might like one of the videos over here. You can check out that next. The more you know, the more you love and protect the ocean. Until next time.